It's the last chance to make some picks this year on the PGA Tour, and why not do it in paradise? Albany Golf Club in the Bahamas for the Hero World Challenge, hosted by Tiger Woods. While Tiger had some interesting things to say about his future, we're here to talk about best bets to make in a 20-man field. Is that for the better or for the worse? If you're making picks this week, that's what we're going to do. Chris Brees and Will Gray on the Golfbet Roundtable. Final one of the year, Will. We've won some. We've lost a lot. Let's end on a high note.
Let's do it. I love the positive outlook there. Let's go back and recount all the losses we've had for the last year. Hopefully with a 20-man field, that means you get a little better shot to get a winner, right, Chris?
Yes. So you look at these odds. It is absolutely bonkers what we're seeing out of Scottie Scheffler right now at plus 140 to win this thing in a field where you have 8 Ryder Cup players in it. Cam Young's one of them, obviously. McIntyre, Spawn, Burns, Keegan Bradley, the U.S. captain. That is your top 6 on this field. And some other guys who are pretty close as well. You're not going to find very many players, Will, who are outside of 30 to 1, 40 to 1. What do you make of basically Scottie versus the field here?
I mean, it's a fair bet right now at plus 140. Maybe you put a minus 180 on the other 19 guys combined, and you got a pretty good two-way market. I mean, we've spent a lot of time. You look back at 2025, you talk about, well, Scottie is priced too short at the majors, and he scooped the last 2 or 2 of the last 3 there with the PGA and the Open. He was priced really short at the Pro Tour right before the Ryder Cup, and he ended up winning that one over Ben Griffin. I think it was around plus 200, 250 range out in Napa Valley. So now we've got him at plus 140 against 19 other guys. Oh, by the way, he's the 2-time defending champ and has never finished worse than second at Albany. He's gone 2-2, 1-1 in these last 4 years in the Bahamas. So some guys are here for a little R&R, maybe bring the kids and the family. There's lots to do or in the Nassau area there. Scottie has no problem focusing on the task at hand once he gets inside the ropes at Albany Golf Club.
So I look at it this way. If you're not going to pick Scottie, and Will may or may not pick Scottie, we'll find out here in a few minutes. If you're not picking Scottie, you've got a 1 in 19 chance of picking the winner this week, which is astronomically smaller than what you're going to get in basically every other PGA Tour event, and the odds are going to be good. Now, you mentioned Scottie won the last 2. We've kind of seen this Scheffler family evolve the last 2 years at the Hero World Challenge, and now Bennett last year became the poster child for every single Scottie Scheffler victory last year going into this year in 2025. Let's talk about this golf course and how unique it is. We know it's unique. It's in the Bahamas. I'm going to name some stats for you here and get your reaction to why it fits Scottie so well, who it could also fit in this field. Let's talk about off the fairways to start. We're seeing players on average hit about 70% of these fairways. They're absolutely massively wide. They're about 39 to 40 yards wide on average off the tee, which is huge. Scottie gained 5 strokes on average over the field the last 2 years off the tee. What do you make of all that?
I mean, Scottie gained a bunch off the tee on pretty much any golf course he stepped on in the last couple of years. This is a place I covered this event a couple years back. I think back to when Tiger, the tournament host, was playing, and there was always that prop, especially if he's coming off of an injury layoff, of is Tiger going to hit the first fairway on Thursday? And it is, you're right, it's sneaky wide. If you're watching these aerials, there's a lot of green grass, there's a lot of sand. What you don't have at Albany is rough. You're either in these resort course wide fairways, or you're in kind of this playable sand over on the side. So it does set up for people to be able to lean a little bit more on the driver than maybe they would at other PGA Tour courses. There's not a ton, that you're worried about with the mist. Maybe you're going to be in the sand, but you're not going to be behind these, crazy trees or in the scrub brush most of the time. So it allows Scottie to play to his strengths, both off the tee and what he's able to do with the driver, and then positionally with the irons. We know he's so good on strokes gained approach into these greens. So when you're talking about, a tee to green setup where there are going to be plenty of birdie opportunities, you're going to get into the mid-20s under par, as Scottie did last year en route to a pretty easy victory. But those birdie opportunities are going to present themselves based on the tee to green ball striking that he's just so good at on any course against any field, let alone a limited field on this particular course.
Distance, not a factor for the guys who don't hit it as far. The average distance last year here was about 300 yards. That's pretty typical for a PGA Tour event. Let's go into the approach now. Scheffler, of course, the best iron player in the world. But last year, 4 of the top 5 players in strokes gained approach were also top 5 on the leaderboard. So if driving's important, iron play's just as important?
I think so, but I would say also it's an inability to distance yourself with the putter.
Okay.
Part of it is the resort style course and the greens that you've got there. And we're not talking about crazy POA at Riviera or anything that's going to be stimping out like a major championship, but also just this is the factor of the limited field, right? If you're in the top 5 out of 20 guys on approach, more often than not, you're going to be making your fair share of those birdie opportunities. So I think it's a little bit of a combination factor where it's maybe more correlated than causative. But it is certainly something to look at to know that, this is not one where you could get, if Denny McCarthy was in the field, he couldn't put the lights out and necessarily race past everyone that's hitting the ball better than him with a hot putter like maybe he could at a course like Muirfield Village where he's nearly won before. So not to spend this whole time about Denny McCarthy, but the point is this is a course where, again, as is so often the case, but especially this week, in a limited field, I'm starting with the ball strikers. I'm starting with tee to green, and I'm not worrying as much about what you are or are not doing on the greens.
Putting is interesting, and maybe these stats are skewed because of the small, limited fields. So we also found out, this is courtesy of Golf Channel, by the way, this was the hardest place last year to putt inside 5 feet, but also was the easiest to putt outside of 15 feet. So if we talk about the winners are always going to putt well, people are going to drive it well. It's wide fairways, small greens, good iron approach, small field. So iron approach maybe gets skewed there. You make your putts and you win. Is it easy as that?
It's about how many birdie opportunities are you gonna give yourself, right? If you get into those 25 to 30, makeable chances, you're gonna knock a few in from close range. You're gonna maybe make a 30 or 40 footer. You're not gonna have a ton of 60, 70, 80 foot putts at Albany, but this is a place where it's a volume play. Are you able to create those opportunities, create those chances? And a lot of it is going to be determined by what you're doing with your irons and what part of the fairway you're coming in from with those shots.
So how about picks? We're going to do a couple of different things here today. We're going to start out with who we think will be in the top 5. We're choosing that market because top 10, you're not going to get any value for hardly anybody with a 20-man field. Let's start with our top 5 picks. Billy Horschel, almost 6-1 here for you.
Yes, near the bottom of the odds board. I'm not worried about my fellow Gator. Not everyone has a ton to play for this week in terms of motivation. Billy Horschel definitely does. He missed so much of this season with that hip injury, and he had surgery. But now he's back, T11 at the Bank of Utah Championship a couple weeks ago, and he has world ranking points on the brain. He is trying to stay inside the top 50 by year end. He's not number 43 right now, but he's moving in the wrong direction based on a whole bunch of OWGR math. The point is, if he gets a couple points and puts a few on the board this week with a decent finish, he's going to stay inside the top 50, and that would get him back to the Masters in April, which is obviously a big motivator for anyone on the PGA Tour, but certainly someone like Billy Horschel, who was a recent runner-up at the Open last year and is still trying to get that first major win. So I just think that's just enough incentive to make me feel like Horschel's going to bring his best from the jump on Thursday and into Friday. Could allow him to dig himself out of an early hole if he needs to, based on the play across those first 36 holes. So again, only a 20-man field. I'm getting plus 550 on him just to be in that. You know what, Chris? Top quartile is going to be the way to go. So I like the price. I like the play. I like the motivation. Give me some Billy Ho.
I like the quartile this week. It's my kind of quartile. It's going to come down to, we say this a lot on tour, but this week it is the epitome of it is, what are you here for? We know why Scheffler is so good here. We just named it for 2 minutes. Horschel's an excellent example. And you know what? I think Justin Rose is kind of a good example. I went through his last couple of years thinking, did it feel like Justin Rose had been kind of down until this year? It actually was not the case. He fell off a little bit in 2024, went gangbusters this year in 2025. And I think this guy, he's so revved up after the finish to the year, after how he did at the Ryder Cup. People talk about his age and did he have it left in him. This guy wants to finish strong, and he's still got that mentality in his head that he wants to continue to be a name on the PGA Tour. And I look at all the players who played well down the stretch, whether it was in the Ryder Cup or whether it was late in the summer. Justin Rose is as high as anybody on this list outside of Scottie Scheffler. And I think Justin Rose is going to be very sneaky at plus 270 for a top 5 finish because his consistency all year, and the guy's just got that crazy mentality, Will, that I think he wants to finish strong, and prove the call him haters wrong from this year.
Definitely an overachiever this year. You think back to what might have been at Augusta National if he'd beaten Rory in that playoff and slipped into that green jacket. I think for Rose, it goes back to the Open last year at Royal Troon, coming so close there. You're right. He was a little bit stalled out in the early part of 24, but he built on that momentum and had a really strong 2025 season. So I love that thought in terms of the consistency that we've seen from him at 45, I believe. So he's leaving no stone unturned in his mid 40s. Same you could have said for Adam Scott as well, another guy that was born a couple weeks around Justin Rose as well. So we'll see what JR can do this week. He's a Bahamas guy, so a little bit of a home field advantage this week. He knows it very well. So add that to your handicap as needed for sure for the resident Bahamian, if not a native.
Hometown hero for the Hero World Challenge. Okay, next market. I thought about doing this. This is Will's pick for tournament 72-hole matchup. I thought about Straka over Connors. I personally was a little concerned about his lack of playing with the son at home. He's doing fine. He took some time off with his family. What do you think about Straka here and your reasons for him over Connors this week?
Two big question marks, guys that did sputter down the stretch in terms of the FedEx Cup season. We saw Straka, of course, for Team Europe at the Ryder Cup. But you're right. He's had the stuff at home with the newborn that thankfully is doing well, and that's been more of his priority. I just think this is a course where, in general, if he's going to be there, he's played very well. He's finished inside the top 10 each of the last 3 or 4 years, including a runner-up in 2023. My only concern is on Sunday, if Alabama happens to beat Georgia, how much that is going to factor into his psyche. Will there be an emotional hangover for the dog if that were to come to pass? But I'm willing to take my chances because I just think that he is a little bit of a better course fit for Albany than Corey Connors, and otherwise they're pretty much apples and apples in terms of it's been a light load for the fall. Corey Connors didn't exactly finish with a ton of great results through the end of the regular season, dealt with that injury around the U.S. Open, and they kind of derailed his summer for a bit. So I will take my chances with the Austrian from Valdosta.
I knew that was the reason why I didn't pick him, because I have Alabama plus 2.5 over Georgia, subconsciously knowing that Sep's not going to do well. All jokes aside, I wanted to find somebody who has been playing sneaky good golf lately, and if you don't follow the DP World Tour, you have no idea how good Aaron Rai is playing right now. He won an event, and he was a first and a T3 in 2 of his last 3 events on the DP World Tour. I believe he won, 2 weeks ago, and he was T3 back in September.
Yeah,
so
he's definitely on a bit of a heater.
And I'm looking at Jordan Spieth, got the special invite to this event. I'm not looking at the Spieth who won this event 11 years ago. He's a different player right now. Spieth might have something to play for. I just think Aaron Rai, if we're talking about players who are playing their best right now, Aaron Rai is fitting that mold for me. And again, he wants to continue to rise up those world golf rankings as well. He did it the last few weeks with that win in the DP World Tour, and it's an excellent chance for him to continue to rise and get some momentum early in the 2026 season. He's the favorite, but I don't mind it at minus 125 on Spieth.
Yeah, Aaron Rai T3 at Wentworth at the BMW Championship or BMW PGA in the fall, and then he did turn around and win in Abu Dhabi a couple weeks ago. Jordan Spieth, we haven't seen him since Memphis, so it's been a minute outside of here and there and some social media posts, and obviously he was off that U.S. Ryder Cup team, so it has been a while for Spieth dealing with the offseason wrist surgery and trying to get back to 100%. So I think he's very much looking at this with a 2026 mindset of trying to build for next year. And I'm with you. Give me a choice, I would take Aaron Rai, knowing that Spieth, although he's won this event, he won at Isleworth about 10 or 11 years ago before I went to Albany. So, factor that in as well.
All right. Time to pick some winners. We've talked about the odds. Basically, Scottie for barely plus money against the field for minus 190. Will Gray has spoken it into existence, manifesting Scottie Scheffler at plus 140 to win.
I'm just not messing around. I just feel like he has boat raced the field here the last 2 years. He's the best player in the field. It's a short field. He likes this course. He likes this week. There's a little bit of history with him being able to go for a three-peat here. Anytime you get a photo op with Tiger, there's something to have a bit of interest on that front. But I look back to Procore, right, when he was under 3-1 to win a full field event on the PGA Tour. And now, yes, plus 140 is a kind of an absurd price. He was about plus 300 at this event last year as the defending champ, and then went on to win. Made everyone look a little silly. I'm just getting out ahead of it. I think that I will take my chances in a limited field with the guy who is far and away the best player of those 20 teams.
I mean, statistically, if you're going to do this, this is the place to do it. Forget about second, first, his last 4 events here in the Bahamas. Those odds really aren't that much worse or shorter than some of his other outright winners throughout the year. You think about the CJ Cup and how short those were in some of those other ones. So I'm not totally going to dog you on this if this is the guy you think is going to win. If I'm in the game of not picking Scottie Scheffler just for the sake of not picking him, I'm doing that. I am a sucker for the storylines, and I feel like we've been missing some key storylines this year in 2025. Keegan Bradley would just be the most ironic storyline to end the 2025 season that you could find. You look at the Ryder Cup and how he basically said it's the darkest moment of his career. He wants to maybe either be on the team or be the captain again, whatever you take from that press conference this week. Keegan Bradley, people are forgetting, the guy was playing really good golf the last half of the year. He won an event. He was close a couple of other times. And we're not talking about that because he didn't play in the Ryder Cup. He was the captain. Should he have been a pick? What did he do wrong? We have forgotten and thrown out all the things that make Keegan Bradley a good golfer. It's not like the guy's washed up and he's going to go play PGA Tour champions. No, this guy is so in the moment. I think he's plenty good to win here, and I think he also has that motivation factor. If I'm looking at players who want to be there to win, Keegan Bradley is definitely near the top of my list, so he's good enough to win for me.
Could be a bridge, like player of the month, November into December, taking the Skins game victory and crushing everyone at Panther National. Then he turns around and dusts the field out at Albany, making the most of this part of the season for sure. You're right. I mean, we're seeing these highlights from the Tour Championship and his playoff run, and you forget so quickly how close he came to winning the FedEx Cup as the sitting Ryder Cup captain. There was so much disappointment with what went down with Bethpage. It's going to be the defining moment of his not his career, but of his year for sure. Amid a year that did include that win at the Travelers and a lot of other good golf. So this could be a way for him to put a little bit of a positive spin on what will certainly at best be a bittersweet year for him, given the U.S. loss up in New York. But you're right. I mean, he has shown throughout this year that he has as much game at this stage of his career than he has maybe even 10 or 15 years ago when he was winning this major.
I talk about irony and ending 2025 with irony. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, and how ironic would it be Scottie wins at basically even money?
Say, Scottie wins a lot of different prices. It wouldn't shock me if he does it at even money, of course, so this week.